Welcome back to Explain 2, Finding a Confidence Interval for Population Mean. So again, we're going to use our confidence interval for our mean, denoted by that beautiful symbol, in a normally distributed population. And again, they're using that subtracting and adding. And all we're really doing is just using a different formula. Just so you know what X with the little line above it means, our sample mean. N again is going to be our sample size. And then the O, that looks cursive, is just our standard deviation for our population. And then remember, Z depends upon the desired degree of confidence. Okay, so now let's actually use this for our Explain 2 activities. So here they say, for a given situation, find the specified confidence interval for the population mean. So let's highlight some important information, shall we? So for a random sample of 20 students at a large high school, the mean score on a standard test is 610. So that's our mean score. Given the standard deviation of all scores, so standard deviation of all scores is 120, find the confidence interval at 99%. So probably going to use that as our Z value, just so you know. All right, let's start just identifying some stuff that they gave us, like our sample size, which is about 20 students. It's a random sample, and it's about 20 students. They also gave us our mean, which is 610. They also gave us our standard deviation, which in this case was about 120. And our Z-score that we're going to use is 2.576. All right, let's go ahead and plug some values in, shall we? All right, so here our mean, we'll put here is 610. Our Z value, which is about 2.576. Our standard deviation, which is 120, and our sample size. We'll also plug in for the adding portion of it. So 610, 2.576, 120 over 20. All right, and let's again use our Desmos calculator to just work that out. I'm only going to show for part A how to calculate that out. I do want you to practice using it for part B on your own. And as you can see, I kind of left some of the work from the last one. You can always just do that by just pressing enter, and it pops up your last calculation up top, and it keeps a history. Much like text messages or anything else in technology, right? So let's go ahead and type in our first one. That's 610 minus 2.576 times our fraction, which is 120, square root 20. And as you can see here, we got about 540.8. We could also round that, just so you know. 541, since it is pretty close. 541, we can round that off. Let's go ahead and do the same thing for the bottom half. So I'm just going to change the plus, since that's the only thing that really changed from the first one to the second one. And that number is about 679. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that at 679, since the next digit after that is just 1. So I'll round that. So that means you can state with 99% confidence that the mean score among all students lies between 541 and 679. Okay, so again, we're going to do part B. Let's go ahead and read our problem and highlight some information. All right, part B, and a random sample. So let's highlight some important information. Random sample of 30 students in high school. The mean score for a standardized test is 1,514. That's a big number. Given the standard deviation of all scores is being 141, and we're going to use our confidence interval. So we're going to use that value for our Z-score. Find the confidence interval for the mean score among all students in the school. So let's identify some stuff first. All right, so our sample size starts with 30, a little lower. our mean, which is 1,514, our standard deviation, which is 141, and our z-score, which is 1.96. So let's go ahead and plug in some values, with our mean being 1,514, our z-score being 1.96, our standard deviation of 141, our sample size of 30, and since I'm going to use the exact same values, the only difference is here I'm subtracting, here I'm adding. That's the only difference. Otherwise, we're just copying some values in, and then I'm not going to show you how to calculate this. I showed you on the last one for Explain A, so take some time, pause, try and find it out. And hopefully you found it and unpaused me just now. And that would be about 1,464 and 1,564. Alright, so that means you can state with 95% confidence that the mean score among all students lie between 1,464, 1,564. Alright, so just as it's going to say here on the bottom of my screen, stop and do the problems in your packet. We'll be back with the last explain. You're almost finished with this packet. You're almost done with this course. You got this. We're almost there.